If you've been following U.S. immigration developments recently, you've likely heard talk about changes to visa rules, enforcement actions, and shifting priorities at various government agencies. But a new analysis released in early 2026 points to another major trend with far reaching implications: a significant reduction in the total number of green cards expected to be issued over the next several years. According to nonpartisan research, as many as 2.4 million fewer immigrants could receive green cards by the end of the current presidential term than would have under historical patterns. This is not a minor adjustment or a technical footnote. It represents a fundamental shift in how legal permanent residency, the cornerstone of long term immigration to the United States, is being regulated and administered. Today, let's find out why this reduction is projected to occur, who will be most affected, and what these changes mean for applicants, families, employers, and international visitors considering long term plans in the United States. At the heart of this story is a detailed study published by the National Foundation for American Policy, NFAP, a respected research organization that analyzes trends in legal immigration. Their report projects that legal immigration, including green card issuance, will be reduced by between roughly 1.5 million and 2.4 million individuals over the course of the current four-year administration, compared with what would have been expected based on recent past levels. In fiscal year 2023, for example, the United States issued 172,910 green cards to immigrants who were admitted as lawful permanent residents under a variety of categories, including family-based immigration, employment-based immigration, humanitarian pathways such as refugees and diversity visas. Under the projections in the NFAP analysis, roughly 33% to 50% fewer green cards would be issued over 4 years, resulting in millions fewer residents having the opportunity to build long-term lives in the United States. So to understand what these numbers mean, it helps to look at the key categories of immigration that account for most green cards. Nearly half of all green cards in a typical year are issued to immediate relatives of U.S. citizens. That means, spouses, parents, and unmarried children under the age of 21. These categories are normally exempt from numerical limits, which basically means there's no annual cap on how many green cards can be issued to immediate relatives. However, policies implemented in recent years have tightened how these admissions are screened and when admissions are permitted, especially for individuals from certain countries or under rules related to financial criteria known as public charge determinations. Another significant factor in the projected reduction involves refugee admissions. In 2025, the annual refugee ceiling, the maximum number of refugees the United States planned to admit in a given fiscal year, was sharply reduced to just 7,500 after previously being set as high as 125,000 in the final year of the previous administration. That represents a decrease of more than 90%. And in terms of the NFAP projections, refugee admissions alone contribute an estimated 470,000 fewer green cards over 4 years. The third major category affected in the analysis involves the Diversity Immigrant Visa Program, often referred to as the Green Card Lottery. Under this program, roughly 55,000 immigrant visas are made available each year to individuals from countries with historically low rates of immigration to the United States, selected through a random lottery system. The NFAP analysis notes that the program has been suspended in recent policy actions, and if the suspension persists for 1 to 3 years, it could reduce green card admissions by an additional 55,000 to 165,000 over the course of the administration. The combined effect of these shifts, restrictions on family-based admissions, reduced refugee ceilings, and a suspended diversity visa program, are the main drivers behind the projected drop of up to 2.4 million fewer green cards being issued by January 2029. This represents a significant departure from recent historical patterns and raises numerous questions about the future of legal immigration pathways, family reunification, and workforce mobility. It's important to emphasize that this analysis focuses on legal immigration through established channels and is distinct from debates about border security, unauthorized immigration, or enforcement actions targeting undocumented migrants. The projected reduction in green cards affects people who are seeking to immigrate through lawful processes, often after years of waiting and planning. These are folks who are following the rules, filing paperwork, attending interviews, and making life decisions based on long-standing immigration law, only to find that policy changes are well reshaping the number of available opportunities for families and individuals who have already begun the green card process. The projections in this report underscore the importance of understanding both numerical limits and changing rules that affect eligibility and timing. For example, expanded public charge criteria, rules that allow consular officers and U.S. immigration authorities to consider whether an immigrant is likely to become dependent on public assistance, have been revised in ways that give adjudicators broader discretion to deny green cards based on financial assessments. A recent policy proposal from the Department of Homeland Security would eliminate detailed guidance on how the public charge test is applied, potentially leading to broader and less predictable interpretations that could affect families and individuals seeking permanent residency. The impact of these changes extends beyond immediate family members. Employers that rely on immigrant workers for specialized skills in technology, healthcare, research, and other sectors could face a smaller pool of available permanent residents. Universities that attract international students with the prospect of long-term residency may find that fewer pathways are available to graduates seeking to stay after completing their studies. Even communities that depend on steady immigration for population growth, labor force expansion, and cultural vitality may experience slower demographic shifts than expected. This projection also invites a closer look at how legal immigration fits into broader immigration policy debates. Legal permanent residency has long been recognized not just as a personal achievement for individuals and families, but as a structural element that supports economic growth, labor force expansion, and social integration. Economists have highlighted that immigrants contribute to population growth and economic dynamism, often filling labor shortages and contributing tax revenues over time. Reducing the flow of legal permanent residents by millions inevitably shifts that calculus, with potential implications for sectors ranging from healthcare to technology to small business ownership. While this analysis does not attempt to forecast economic outcomes, it reflects changing policy priorities that intersect with economic as well as social issues. For people currently navigating the green card process, the uncertainty introduced by these projections can be stressful. Consular processing for immigrant visas may be slower or more scrutinized. Priority dates and visa categories may advance more slowly, and discretionary decisions by adjudicating officers may weigh factors differently than in recent years. Those who are planning weddings, family reunifications, job changes, or relocations based on expected green card issuance timelines may need to factor in a wider range of possible outcomes than they previously anticipated. It's also worth noting that the legal framework governing green cards, including numerical limits and eligibility criteria, actually remains rooted in statutes passed by Congress. Much of the shift described in the projections, though, results from administrative interpretations, new screening criteria, and broader discretionary application of rules rather than from any kind of wholesale statutory overhaul. This means that future legislative action, court rulings, or changes in administrative practice could, alter the trajectory of green card issuance in ways that are not fully predictable today. For now, however, the analysis from the National Foundation for American Policy provides a detailed projection of how current policy settings, if maintained, could really reshape legal immigration by limiting the number of green cards issued over the next several years. The repercussions of these projections are already being discussed by immigration attorneys, employers, and immigrant advocacy groups as they consider both the immediate effects and the longer term implications for families and communities. As 2026 continues, anyone with a pending green card case, future applicant, or family member planning to immigrate to the United States would benefit from closely monitoring official guidance from the Department of State, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, and relevant legal developments, staying connected to trusted immigration news sources, understanding how policy changes are applied in practice, and seeking professional advice when necessary. Well, those remain important strategies in a shifting immigration landscape.